This is about a 14-pound turkey, and we're going to show you how to debone it. First of all, the knife. This is a classic boning knife. It's got a little nick in it, but other than that nick, it's pretty sharp. And a sharp, thin-bladed knife is the best kind of knife to use to debone poultry. What I'm going to do here is debone this turkey so that all of this skin remains intact, and it's one big piece of meat that can be butterflied, it could be grilled, broiled, or in my case I plan to stuff it and reform it and roast it. So for starters, this is the breast side, lots of meat, legs are up here. If the turkey was walking around, he'd be walking like this. This one's not going to be doing any more walking. We're going to turn the turkey over so that the back is up. The next thing we're going to do is slice right along the backbone through the skin, from the tail all the way up to the neck. You could go from the neck to the tail if you prefer. This just happens to be easier for me. So now you can see where we're going to make the split. The basic process is to cut underneath the skin and underneath the flesh of the bird. And if you keep the knife angled towards the carcass, towards the bone, then you won't cut through the skin, which is easy to do if you're not careful, and we want to avoid that because we want to keep this whole. And you won't lose a lot of meat. So the idea here is to scrape along the carcass. Now, some anatomy is good to know. This is the shoulder blade. And you can see here where the chicken is attached. And what we're going to do is just cut right through that joint to detach the wing partially. Now, the other place that the wing connects is in the front here, right near the wishbone. So that's what we're going to do here, is disconnect the wing from this kind of complicated shoulder socket like this. Okay? The wing is disconnected. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now you can see again right here where the wing connects to the shoulder blade, and we just severed that connection. And the connection is a tendon, I guess a ligament, combination of ligaments and tendons that connect the wing bone and the wing muscles to the rest of the bird's body. Now what we're doing here is just we disconnected, this is the part of the wishbone, disconnected that while we were disconnecting the bone, the wing. We're just going to cut down along here. In fact, we'll take out the the wishbone just so you can see that in fact is what we have here. I'm going to do it without losing too much meat. This is something I usually don't do right away. But here's your your wishbone. It's going in the soup pot. In fact, one of the reasons I like to debone a turkey is that I make turkey stock. With the turkey, I use it to create a gravy for the turkey and also for my other cooking. All right. Now that the front half of the bird has been disconnected, the meat has been disconnected. It's actually more like the front quarter, so we still have to get the rest of the breast. The next thing we're going to work on is the thighs. Now there's a small nodule here of meat just before you get to the thigh. And so you want to use the tip of the knife here against this flat area to get this nugget out. It's actually my wife's favorite part of the entire bird. We call it the oyster. Okay. So again, we're just cutting against the carcass. And right here, you can see the joint where the thigh goes into the hip. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to cut the skin away a little bit. What we're going to do now is cut through. You see the ball of the joint here, right there. And we just cut through on the inside of that ball joint to disconnect the thigh from the body of the turkey. Okay, again, we just continue cutting against the carcass to get all of the meat. And there we go. This is one half of the turkey. You see the wing, the leg, and the thigh totally disconnected here and this. This is the sternum of the bird right here, where the breastbone, it would be in the middle of your chest, and this goes right up against the skin, so you have to be careful here not to cut through the skin. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll turn this around so you can see how this works. Probably this way is best. It is a little awkward for me cutting from this angle, but we'll get through it just fine. Again, we cut the oyster off, cut along the skin here in the back. Okay. Again, you can see the joint here where the thigh is connected to the rest of the turkey. Hands are getting a little slippery here. Okay, and now the thigh is disconnected. We just cut along the meat, along the carcass again, just scraping it off, scraping the meat off. Scrape down against the sternum, the breastbone of the turkey. Till we can see the end. And being very careful here, as I say. Okay. That looks good. Now I'm just going to cut right along the breastbone here, and here is the entire carcass of the turkey. Again, right into the soup pot. Here is our whole turkey, completely deboned from the main carcass. Now you could stop here, but in our case we're going to remove the thigh, leg bone, and the first bone of the wing. So what we do is the meat is connected across the top here with some tendons. So we cut around the connection to the thigh bone and then scrape again right down along the thigh bone on all sides till we get to the joint where the thigh is connected to the leg. And you can see here, this is the top of the thigh bone, or the bottom of the thigh bone where it connects at the knee to the leg. Again, cut across. There's a lot of connective tissue here. We're just going to cut right through and remove the thigh. There's the thigh bone. Now this here, this little chunk of cartilage, is basically the kneecap. You just cut just on the outside of that to remove it. Okay, and then cut around the top of the leg. Again, to disconnect the ligaments and tendons that are connecting the meat, and scrape down the leg. So here we're scraping down, down. And here's the leg bone. Now, we could pull the leg all the way through, but that would leave a hole in the end, and I don't want to do that for this particular preparation. So I'm going to my trusty cleaver. Any sharp, heavy kitchen knife will work. This is my favorite. One quick chop, and these bones are ready for the stock pot too. So now, this is how the deboned leg looks. And there's a nice pocket right here where we can put stuffing. We want to cut this little winglet, the wing tip end off. This is basically the hand, like the hand of this limb. And we get rid of that because it's just going to burn in the oven. Right into the stock pot. Might as well do this one while we're here. Now to debone the wing end of this side of the bird, we expose the bone and cut away along the top again to disconnect the tendons that are attaching the meat to the wing bone, and we cut and scrape right down along this bone as well. And we're just going to cut in between at this joint. Move this wing bone. Okay. All that's left is this piece of wing. I personally don't think it's worth it. You can cut and scrape the inside, but there's not that much meat to be gained. I leave this on the bird most of the time. So let's just finish up with the other side. We'll cut out this wing first this time. You can tell when you're getting to the joint because the bone gets a little thicker. Take a look at a skeleton. You'll understand this a little better. Okay, so that's the bone. Now we're going to do the thigh on this side. There's the thigh bone, it's done. Now we'll do the leg. Okay, so we're at the end here, and again, we're just gonna cut this bone here. If you wanted to remove even the end, you can slice right here where the end of the bone comes through the skin. Okay. Let's get everything pushed back through. There we go. You see the leg? Looks like something out of a Harry Potter movie. The turkey with no bone. Sometimes there are some thick tendons left. I'm going to cut those out, just like we did with the bones. This tendon in the tender of the breast, I like to cut out because it gets very tough when you cook it. So, and then to flatten it out, we fold all the pieces in to fill the gaps in the skin. And there we are.